got this.
Hello, thank you for joining me on this episode of the AW Confidential Podcast. Today we have a very special episode. Oftentimes, we turn on the news and all we hear is bad news, stories that tug at our spirit or put fear in our hearts. Our guest today is a television host, news personality, two-time Emmy Award-winning reporter, and producer. You can see her on NBC New York, NYLive, and the Today Show. Welcome, Joelle Garguilo. Did I pronounce that right?
You could pronounce it however you want it. It's Joelle Garguilo, but I've been called many things. You are so sweet. Wait, can I ask you something? Like, no, I will not hijack it. What's your sign? When's your birthday?
Aries.
You're an
April.
Aries. Okay,
Yes.
okay. April what?
13.
April 13th. Okay, all right. I'm March 3rd. I was like, I don't know why. I felt like a connection. So
that is really funny because I did some Googling on you, of course. And as I read about you, I felt a connection. Yeah. But we're going to get into that. I'm really excited. Thank you so much for being here. I am incredibly grateful to you.
You are, wait, you know what? And I'm all of a sudden, I don't see that gorgeous face. I just see, oh, there you are. There she is.
Okay, folks, these are the technical difficulties that we deal with today.
Funny, I feel like before the pandemic, it's like, first of all, we would have never even thought of like to connect in this way. But now, like anything is par for the course. Like my kids are at school right now, but normally like one child would walk in, start pulling my hair, hide behind me. Like, and also, are we going to acknowledge, do you have a Beyonce fan? Because you are getting some beautiful, like.
I know, I have the fan and it's flowing, like my hair is flowing. Don't you just love it?
I love it.
I just have everything prepared for you.
Incredible.
So, let's begin with the fact that I've been watching you for years, particularly the past 2 years as we've been, experiencing this pandemic. You're on the TV at 11:30 NBC every Monday to Friday, and it's NYLive, right?
NYLive, yeah.
You share these incredible stories that literally fill my heart. And I'm sure it does for so many other people. It was just an amazing experience when I met you, your energy, you're exactly the same in person as you are on screen. So I want to acknowledge that and thank you for that, Joelle.
I want to thank you for acknowledging that and thank you for that.
Okay, we need to get to this interview. I have to get you out of here. Okay, so, one thing I noticed as a writer and the founder of my platform, I'm learning that people want to be inspired. Now, what have you learned from telling these feel-good stories that I will get into briefly later, and just giving a voice to people, on your platform? How do you feel? What have you learned? Bring us into your experience.
I think the importance of speaking up, right? Listen, the world can be a depressing place. Like I'm not even trying to act like things don't happen every single day, but when you have a platform, like when you have the privilege of like listen, like I'm on NBC, it's the #1 market here in New York. And I think you have a responsibility. I think like old school newsrooms, everybody's very like, can't be this, can't be that. But it's like, no, because those are the stories. I mean, first of all, I think a lot of people, like the celebrity stuff is great, right? Like I love doing the celebrity stuff. I will always love doing that. But like, I think it's the everyday people who they're freaking incredible, right? And like, they don't always get the spotlight. And I think it's important to fight for those stories. And it's one of those things too, like during the pandemic, for the first time, people were like, oh my gosh, we love that. That's great. Like, that's always what, as a viewer, what you want to see. Don't you want to watch something that, like, I don't know, I get depressed when I watch it. Yeah.
Inspires you.
And then it also helps these people who deserve it. Like, they deserve it. And like the power of what we do, it's incredible. And I say privilege again, like it's a privilege to be able to say like, hey, like, let's put them on, let's highlight that small business. I mean, earlier this morning, I was talking to an ER doctor. I met her while I was talking to people who I did a story on. It's an ER doctor who started a fashion line out of her apartment in Harlem. And like, it's like, and she like started shaking when she met me, shaking. And I'm on the phone with her and she's like, I don't think I'm worthy of this. I'm like, would you are saving lives.
I
You
got
are
chills.
this woman is saving lives every single day.
So during this process, what have you learned as a human being?
Oh, I mean, like I have a big heart. I've always known that. Like I've always known that. But my heart sometimes gets me in trouble because I care so much. Like I genuinely care. Like you talking to me, I know when we met, I know that this interview means a lot to you. And therefore, and like I'm like fighting back tears because I don't know. Like I
Don't do that.
don't, you know what I mean?
Not there, not yet.
Yeah, so like gosh, it's a hard question to answer, but
Ooh, that's good.
yeah, I just think like the importance of like speaking up, even when it's not the most popular thing to do. If you believe in it, like trust your heart, trust your gut. And that's what I've done. And I don't care if it be
I
other,
love
like,
that.
you know what I mean? Like I think I've stopped caring about what other people think.
But that is true living. That is,
Yeah.
to me, that is absolute happiness. You're not worried about, what everyone else is doing or thinking. You're doing you. So
Yeah.
I think keep doing that. Now, as New Yorkers, we're perceived to be cold, uncaring, but we pull it together when it's needed in big and small ways. I'm sure, 9/11, this fire that happened
Bronx,
recently.
yeah.
um, but people are pulling together, and you're using your platform to tell the stories of people that are making a difference and embracing their greatness. I mean, I'm not going to go through the list, but the woman with the thank you notes, the woman in I think it's in Brooklyn no, it's in the Bronx, the woman that has the bookstore, the only bookstore in the Bronx,
Oh
the
my God.
Rockhead story. All these stories are just they like I said, they fill your heart. So why tell these stories, and what do you hope people will feel when they listen to the stories?
Yeah, well, again, it's like you have to get out of your world, right? So because your world is not the only world out there. And through doing stories on like everybody, you learn so much about somebody else's culture, somebody else's upbringing. Like it's unbelievable. My experiences with people have like, I know that I'm not you're not me, but if I can fully understand what it has been like to walk in your shoes through your experience and then share that with people, like that's like with understanding that's when the magic happens, right? Like if we all understood one another's worlds
Human
better,
connection.
there wouldn't be like us and them and they and but like why can't we just learn from one another? And it's made me a better person in every way, shape, or form. So when we talk about Noelle, the Lit Bar, so she is the only bookstore in the Bronx. Now I did a story on Noelle before the pandemic, and she was like, listen, like I wish like this is not something I'm proud of. I don't want to be the only bookstore in the Bronx. Like I want people to see this and be inspired and open up more bookstores in the Bronx. Like you know what I mean? So when you're able to shine a light on something like that, maybe somebody watching is like, oh my gosh, like there's not, well, okay, like let's open one, let's help somebody open one, because what she does there, she serves her community, she's selling books for her community. And I will say, like, I kept in touch with her during the pandemic and after the murder of George Floyd. Like, she was one of the first people I reached out to, just like, are you okay? Because her business was shut down. And she wound up, I mean, she has been doing insane business. And now Jennifer Lopez comes into town, stops in the Lit Bar, like she interviews President Obama. It's unbelievable. But like highlighting somebody like that, who she doesn't want to be the only, but people have to see that to know, hey, she is the only, that's not okay. Maybe it's corporation, maybe they have money, maybe they could throw it behind her so she could, branch out. I don't know, stuff like that.
I love that.
Grandma Dawn, multicultural book and toy shop in Harlem, this beloved store. So the way I find a lot of my stories, I just walk around the city. If we're talking about New York, I walk around, I go in and out of places, I listen, and I just kind of am like a customer, right? Or just a person, not a reporter. And I went in there and I remember just being like, oh, this is a special place. And Grandma Dawn, the owner, didn't think she had a story. And then, but I start talking to her, it's like, what? You have an incredible story. And so I did a story on her. And then after I did the story, the cameras were off. She just like said something kind of under her breath of like, I don't know how much longer we'll be able to stay open, like maybe 2 months. I said, what? She's like, oh, I've been self-funding the business for the past 21 years. I've never turned a profit. And because they had to be shut, she owed all this back rent. And I was like, Grandma Dawn, no, like this store is important to this neighborhood for so many reasons. Like this is a woman who wanted to make sure that every single child and every single parent in Harlem knew how to read. And this is back in the day when the things that people used to say about the community were horrible. And so she was on a mission because she was raised by the library. Her mom worked 3 jobs to support her and her sister. So the library raised her to like share her love of books and make sure every child knew how to read. She started the toys so that could fund the reading business. So let's just say a kid comes in and doesn't have the means. The parents may not have the means. She'll let them do little chores in the shop to pay off whatever it is that they want. But her whole thing is that she wanted to open up this bookmobile, because she wants every child to be able to have a book. And she wanted to do this for 28,000 children living in homeless shelters in Harlem. She wanted to make sure they all had books, whatever they needed. But if that store closes, like then she doesn't have a vehicle to do it. So I may have suggested to her family, they start a GoFundMe, and I may have roped in somebody who has a very big New York audience who I've done stories on before. And I just said, hey, would you mind just posting their GoFundMe? And it's this guy, Nick, New York Nico. And he said, well, I'll meet you there. I'll interview her. So I met him there. I did the introduction, and Grandma Dawn like came with a VHS tape and a VHS player, like her resume, like all of this stuff, and just was herself. And so he wound up sharing the GoFundMe link, and $47,000 were raised. Her store was able to stay there, but all of these things, it was like the snowball effect, right? So then Humans of New York did a feature on her. They fundraised all this money for this not-for-profit that she's trying to start. It's just like the power. So many people, people have done stories on her before, right? But so many people, they hear something like that and they're like, oh, that's unfortunate. And they walk away.
Right.
But don't walk away. If you could like make one call or one thing, like just stop thinking about yourself, like if we all just like take a little moment, stop thinking about ourselves and think about the other person, like she's trying to help 28,000 children living in homeless shelters in Harlem. Like if you,
I think this is one of your special gifts, and I think Oprah said you got it. I read that. I loved it. I saw the clip. But you're so good at what you do, and that's, I think, in part because you really care, and that helps you connect. Yeah. So I think, first of all, I'm not surprised that you were able to pull all this off. You have a gift for seeing people. And I don't think everyone has that gift. You allow people to be seen. And we need more of that. So I'm sort of curious because, you mentioned, this woman says, oh, I don't think I have a story. Yeah. What was your response when she said that? Because I believe as a, storyteller, writer, author, I think we all have a story to tell.
Oh, so everybody has a story. I mean, then I start asking questions, right? Like, and I think like the biggest thing, let's just say anybody is watching this or listening to this and they're like, well, I don't have a story. You have to separate your what from your why. It's the biggest thing, right? Because so often we meet people, it's like, what do you do? But like, why do you do what you do? Right. And that's where you find, I mean, everybody has a story, like everybody has a story. And so with Grandma Dawn, it's like, well, why do you do what you do? And then all of a sudden we went back to when she was a child in the library, like books were her escape from her life at the time. And, she knew what it was like to grow up with a parent who wasn't around. And just like, and then seeing the poverty in her area and like just wanting to provide resources to people so they can do better, so they could do better, so their kids could do better, right? Like you just need someone. But like even I interviewed this girl, her name is Janie. So she has this little she makes these pie crust cookies, Janie's life-changing baked goods, she calls them.
I remember that story.
Yeah, I'm like, so this is a girl again who like she never shared her story, and she makes amazing cookies. But as soon as she started sharing her story, her business blew up because people just connected with her on a whole other level. Like she was on the street, she was an addict, and she, through her recovery, she felt like she didn't have any like redeeming like resume items or this or that. But when she would bake and people would eat these pie crust cookies, they would like go nuts for it. And so once she started sharing her story, I mean, her business, like they're like 4 months behind in orders. That's how the business is completely blown up.
Is that because there's so many stories. Was that the woman that opened the second store or no?
Oh my,
there's so many stories.
No, I know. Gosh, there's so many.
But your empathy, and like I said, I can't get over how you're a gem. And I always say that to you. You are a gem. There was an interview with Bella Magazine where you said that you learned empathy, understanding, and how to be a better human. Now, I think it makes you an effective and fantastic storyteller. What have you learned? What haven't you learned yet that you feel would get you closer to being the woman, mother, and human you hope to evolve into? What is that lesson you haven't learned yet, or something that you feel that you need to work on? Because I think we all do.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I could use some help with time management. Like I could use some help with like getting out of my own head and like, getting out of my own way. But like, I don't know. And I actually think that's the beautiful thing. I think that kind of when you start, you're like, I need this, I need that. And you're like searching and scrapping for all of this stuff. And sometimes it is completely okay not to know. Like,
I love that.
To know. And I'm finally at a place in life where I think I'm like, I'm okay with that. Like, I'm totally okay. Like, I don't know what I don't know. But I do know I just always want to be getting better. And like, I always want to be learning. I feel like I was like, for a very long time, I was kind of stagnant, just with work, with this, with that. And like, I wish I could say like, this is what clicked. I think maybe it's like stopping caring so much about what other people think of you. Right. Or like their opinions. I've had some experiences professionally where it's like, you just like I think as women, like we make up stories in our head. And then we think people think something of us, and who knows if they do or they don't, but we let them like really impact the way
we start believing some things too. I've been there so many times.
Right? Like you let it affect the way that you see yourself. And it's like, oh my God, screw it. Like I'm a good mom. I'm a good human being. Like, so,
I think it takes practice. It's just,
constant practice. Don't you think so? Like, cause even
it never stops. Never stops. It's just like, when I wrote my first book, I talk about the journey to becoming the best self and my awakening. I thought, okay, I'm awakened. I got past the divorce, got past the depression. I wrote a book, started this platform. I'm done. No, I'm not. I just had an awakening like 6 months ago. So you continue to evolve. I think that's sort of the beauty of life, isn't it? To just continue evolving.
And like, who cares, right? Like, who cares if like one day is not this or what, like, just like move on, right? Like, I feel like we
get stuck.
I would like get stuck or beat myself up about stuff. And like, then like my husband, he's in the other room. Like, I feel like he's a great example because like stuff happens. He moves on like that, where I'll be like, I wallow in it, or I this, or I that. I'm like, oh wait, they're not even like, or like my little one, Viviana Marie Mary Gargiulo Marcella. So little Vivi will give me hell at night. Like she'll give me hell. and then in the morning, she like runs out of the bedroom, pitter patters, and it's just like so happy. It's like, wait, what? Okay.
But
How did that happen?
but mom is there to show her you
I
can
know.
turn the page. Absolutely. You deliver stories that inspire us. What inspires you?
Oh my gosh, like conversations like this, like I mean, it's like, and I have like I wish I could cancel. I have a work interview after this. So like,
I know.
like me, like, I just want to ask you 110 questions, like, but you talking about the fact that like you're awakening, you've had a traumatic experience with your divorce, you wrote a book, and then you're trying to inspire
Depression.
others, like depression, like connecting, like that really, like that inspires me, like it really does, honestly. Then like it just knowing that there are like good people out there, you know what I mean, like that's
Yes.
so cheesy, but like,
I get it.
right?
No, it's not cheesy at all.
Like, we
No,
don't have to be mean,
absolutely.
we don't have to this, we don't have to be in competition, like why can't we just lift one another, like let's just like lift each other, right?
Oh,
Like the table is big
see,
enough, like there's room for
there's
everyone.
enough pie. There's enough pie for everyone.
We all have like our secret, whatever it is, like we all have our secret sauce, like, you don't want to be me, I don't want to be this, like I just think it's been really cool. It's like, this is like kind of like going on a tangent, but I think one thing that clicked, which I would encourage like anybody, especially people I think who want to have a career similar maybe to my path or your path, like just find that thing that's you and stay true to you. Like we don't need another Ellen DeGeneres, there will never be another Oprah, like, but there like there genuinely is only one you, and just tap into that. Stop trying to be like everybody else. Like just like do you.
So, since I know you have to go soon, I like to end all my interviews with something positive, a message, a gift. So, my question for you is sometimes life experiences harden us, and you've spoken about this.
Yeah.
What words of inspiration or encouragement can you share with our listeners that may be feeling, I'd say, cynical about humanity? And I know because I have been there. What words do you have?
I think often setbacks can actually be setups, but you don't always realize it at the time. And sometimes it takes a year to, I mean, it could take years, but I promise that a large majority of setbacks, if you could view them as setups, you are going to be so much better off. Like I've had things happen that I just kind of like, I put like a block, and I was so stuck on those things that happened that I wasn't letting all of these other things happen in my career. Cause I was like, focusing on this thing and that thing. But in all actuality, like that was my setup. That setback set me up for winning that other Emmy, for doing all of the things that I'm doing now, but I had to let go of it. And it's so hard to let go. It's hard. It is hard to let go of it, but let that shit go. Sorry.
Yes, I love it.
Let it, like Elsa says, like, let it go. Because
Joelle,
it's just like holding you back,
I adore you. I think you are, like I said, and I won't stop saying it, you're a gem. Thank you so much for this interview and for your time.
Well, we
And
need to get together in person is what we need to do.
we
Like,
are. It's a
yeah,
date. It's a date.
I would love that. You are the sweetest thing under the sun.
Thank you. Listeners, you heard it. Turn your setback into a setup. Thank you for joining me today on this episode. Talk to you soon.
Oh my God, you are the